Hi everyone, welcome back. Hi, it's good to see you all. Awesome. I'm just going to invite our speaker to the stage. Hello. If you guys are here and ready and waiting, just drop us a little in the chat so that we can come and see you or see that you. Hey Taylor, how's it going?
Hey, it's great. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad at all. Just excited to be back because, maybe you didn't know, but our wonderful audience of hackers might have known that yesterday OMG was taking over as it was a bank holiday in the UK. Great to be back to see you all and engage with everyone. Hello. Awesome. Okay, so Taylor, are you ready to go?
Yeah, sure. I'm just gonna go ahead and share my screen here. While I do it and talk through this, I'm not gonna be able to look at chat. So
That's absolutely
yeah, I
okay.
mean, if there's questions and stuff, I'll take a look at the end. Okay, so
Perfect.
yep, I'll just take it away. So yep, what we're gonna be talking about today, we're just gonna be running through basically a brief of what kind of Etherspot is, what we do. We're gonna talk a bit about account abstraction. And kind of like the problems which account abstraction and Etherspot are solving. And then we're going to take a look at a demo at the end. We're going to take a look at a couple of our products, but in a technical sense and the code wise, we're only really going to take a look at Transaction Kit, because when we get to there, you'll see that it's the simplest to use. And if people are looking to kind of work with account abstraction or something like this within this hackathon, then it's what we would highly recommend using. So account abstraction, I want to talk about the current user experience. So currently, the pretty much since like the start of time, since the start of Ethereum, everyone has been using EOA wallets. What are these? These are externally owned accounts. These are key-based wallets. These are things like your MetaMask or your Trust Wallet or whatever will store. You'll have your plugin. You'll sign transactions using this key, and it's worked for a long time. It works for certain people, but there are some downsides of it. The first one being the 12-word key phrase. So this is a good idea in theory, and as I said, it works for certain people. Maybe people who are more security savvy, more tech savvy, but for the masses and for mass onboarding for Web3 and crypto, it's not gonna continue to work. Actually, we were to talk last week about account abstraction. We were partly hosting it. There was a guy from Trust Wallet there, and he was talking about how their number one most common customer service ticket is that people just lose their 12-word key phrase or just issues with it, tons of issues with it. So we kind of need some sort of easier method of creating wallets and securing wallets and having backup and things like this. Another pain point with Web3 right now is that cross-chain actions are currently quite difficult. This is like, so if I have assets on one chain and I want to stake them on a separate chain, it can sometimes take me a lot of actions to get there. Like maybe I have to do one swap on Polygon, then I have to do bridge to Ethereum, then I need to do a swap on Ethereum, and then I can finally stake my assets somewhere. We kind of need some sort of solutions to make that a lot better. Another pain point is that new Web3 users can be deterred by gas entirely. If I, as a GameFi dApp or an NFT dApp or something, a lot of the time I'm going to want to get users in, and I'm just going to want to pay for their gas. So we need ways to do that through sponsored transactions, and multiple transactions can also be quite costly. So by this I mean, if I'm doing a couple of transactions at a time, like say if I'm working with an ERC20 token or something, I need to first approve it, and then I can go ahead and do whatever I want to do with a smart contract with it. We need a way to kind of push those together so we can have that in one transaction, so we can save the user money. And on a smaller point, pop-up transaction signing. So this is for when we're clicking on a transaction, signing it. We've all gotten used to it right now with like signing a transaction in MetaMask or something, but it's kind of taken a step backwards in terms of like UI, because pop-ups in browsers are sort of like, I don't know, like a thing of the past, spam, malware sort of thing. But now they're back and we need to use them for extensions. It doesn't really make sense. So all this together can make for a pretty bad user experience. It's not Web 2 like. and the user has to learn about all these, these added bells and whistles and things like this, when maybe they just want to use, some GameFi app, some DeFi app. They don't, but the user should not have to care about all this. So because they do have to care a lot about all this right now, in terms of like the 12-word key phrase, onboarding new Web3 users can be tough. So we need ways to simplify this process and abstract these complex parts, away from the user. So that, in a nutshell, is account abstraction. So I mentioned earlier we have the EOA wallets, and now this new type of wallet, well, it's not new, but is smart contract accounts. So account abstraction, as I've written here, means pretty much every account is a smart contract that contain custom logic. So with EOA wallets, we're very limited in what we can do in terms of flexibility and security and things like this. But now, because we can, implement wallets as a smart contract instead, we're working with a Turing complete solution. So, any developer, designer can create a wallet in any way they want, using Solidity or any other EVM-based languages. And this means we can program a much better user experience for wallets and accounts, and fix a lot of the problems that I mentioned in the previous slide. It means we can define flexible security rules and wallet creation, things like Web3 auth for the social logins. And there's a lot more good features in account abstraction, which I'll mention in following slides. But yeah, account abstraction, it's not new. Etherspot have actually been doing it for years. It's just with the merge of 4337 at the start of March, it now offers a more decentralized, better solution. So that's why there's, there's been this whole hype about it for the past couple of months. And I'm not going to go into 4337 here because it could be its like whole own talk. So how does Etherspot fit into this? So it's account abstraction at its best. We like to think so anyway. So we want to help dApps achieve a frictionless multi-chain experience. We want to make it easier for developers to focus on building the great products that they want to build. So this is like, if we have a developer who has this really, really good GameFi game, amazing Web3 game, but they're like, oh shit, how do I do cross-chain? How do I do social logins? How do I do transaction batching? This sort of thing. We offer an SDK and other development tools to let developers like that wield the power of account abstraction. And pretty much we've done all the hard work in the back end, so they can, they can make use of all these great account abstraction features in their whatever app they're building. So some of the features we have: social logins. This means like you can log in with like your Twitter, and then smart contract accounts are created on 14 of the chains that we support. A simplified multi-chain experience. So everyone's had it where like if you're working with multiple chains and you're in your MetaMask, you need to like keep clicking in the top right and switching between chains. Bit of a nightmare. Within the Etherspot SDK, we can just keep no chain switching within app, so you can just access all your wallets on every app in the same UI, which is fantastic. We got sponsored transactions and meta transactions. If you don't know what these are, sponsored transactions are when a developer can pay for the user transactions, specific types of transactions for specific users, things like this. Meta transactions, which is really great, which is in terms of you can pay for transactions using tokens other than the native token to that network, which is, so you can like pay for a transaction with USDC or something, which is great. Transaction batching, running multiple transactions all in one transaction. So like I said earlier, with the ERC20 token, you can run an approval and a swap on this one transaction, save the user money. Some cross-chain bridging, which isn't a new thing, but in tandem with like these other features, like transaction batching, it can make for some really powerful tools and transactions, and a fiat on and off ramp. So there's a lot of features there, but it's kind of maybe hard to imagine like where this kind of fits in or what can be done with this. So I have this GameFi example written here. So the old, or maybe the current way, a lot of GameFi apps are still doing it. The user has to download MetaMask. So already user, not familiar with Web3, he's like, oh, what, I have to download a plugin to play this video game in my browser? Like, doesn't seem like it makes sense. They need to create an EOA wallet. They need to write down their 12 words, which is already a bit of a barrier. The second step, log in and play the game. They play for like a couple of months, maybe, earn their game token. Now they want to swap this game token for USDC. So now they've hit another problem. They need to buy a gas token from somewhere, and they need to send it to this wallet. Say it's like Matic or something. This is on Polygon, for instance. So the game token's pretty much soft locked on that wallet until they've sent, gas tokens so they can get it out, which is obviously an issue. What if they want to off ramp? Potentially, they need to send more gas token. Maybe need to off ramp through a CEX or a centralized exchange or something like this, which is just another hurdle. Using the Etherspot SDK, we can build a much richer user experience. We can log in with one click via Twitter or Gmail or Twitch or whatever social whatever social login they want to generate the wallet with. Same again, they log in and play to earn their game token. Now they want to swap once again. They want to swap their game token for USDC with Etherspot. We can use a meta transaction here, and the game token can be used to pay for the gas, which means there's no soft locking of these tokens in the wallet, which is fantastic. And if they want to off ramp, that's also something that's offered in the Etherspot SDK, so they can off ramp without actually having to leave that GameFi dApp and having to go somewhere else. So, like I said before, just the whole flow of it becomes a lot much nicer for the user. Right now, I'm just gonna quickly go through some of the other the products that we have. So our SDK is pretty much, and I'm gonna walk through these in browser here. Our SDK is pretty much the backbone of Etherspot. This is, to be honest, if you're a hackathon participant, you're probably not going to end up using the SDK itself. But when you're using the builder or using the transaction kit, just be aware that this is what it's linking into. This is sort of, just like the underlying software. Just the builder and the transaction kit are just, we've just created them to make them a bit easier to use, because the SDK does require a good amount of knowledge to, get to use it. But once you do get to use it, you can use it for a lot more, a much more powerful way and a lot more customizable. So things we're going to look at here, we're going to take a look at the builder component, just a small look at how social logins work, how some cross-chain actions can work with, the builder UI. And then we're also going to go through a transaction kit demo. So this is a demo we already have built. I'm just going to walk through the Etherspot parts of it. It's probably not going to take too long, which is, I think, actually a testament to how clean the code is, because with transaction kit, we just want it to be as simple as possible for users to, build in Web3, and transaction kit it definitely makes it very, very easy. So I'm going to exit out of this presentation now and tab over to here. Okay, so here is this is just a quick look at our website. You can take a look at this later if you want. The first thing I said I was going to talk about is the Etherspot SDK. As I said, it's just a blockchain development framework. It is, like I said, the backbone. If you really want to get deep into Etherspot and using customizable parts of it, you can take a look into it. But to be honest, for this hackathon, you probably won't need to. As we say here, we can use the builder and transaction kit to easily include Etherspot features in their dApps. This just makes these two make it a lot easier. So what is this builder component? It's pretty much a plug and play React component. This is an example of it here on the right. You can easily drop this into your dApp and then use a lot of, pretty much use a lot of Etherspot's features for things, like sending, withdrawing, cross-chain bridges. We have some really good cross-chain apps, things like this, or cross-chain transactions. So this is what it looks like here. And this can be skinned to, whatever you want. So if you want to add this to your hackathon dApp for whatever reason, you can skin it to or theme it, however way you want it. So here I'm going to show an example of how the social login part of Etherspot actually works. So using the Etherspot SDK, when we pass in what we call a provider, it will generate a wallet based off of that. So if I click on my Twitter, I've already logged in before in this, so it should just work. And we're using Web3 auth for the social logins. Okay, great. So what this has done, this has passed my Twitter account as the provider into the Etherspot SDK, and then using that as a unique ID has created a wallet for me on all 14 of these chains that we can support. So you see Ethereum, Polygon, BNB, Gnosis, which hopefully which you're going to be building on, things like this. I don't have any funds in this current wallet, but I'll show you so some of the things we can do with Builder. One of the really good things is this claim a staking block we have. We do have an intention to build more blocks and make it easier for people to build their own blocks like this. So Claim a DAO, if you don't know, is a protocol on Polygon. So remember I was saying earlier about trying to do things cross-chain. I might need to go to, if I say want to bridge from Gnosis to Klima, I might need to swap to the red asset on Gnosis, bridge over to Polygon, swap the right asset in Polygon, and then finally stake on Klima. That can take 4 transactions and a lot of different actions, which can be costly. It can take up a lot of time, and going between 4 different websites as well. It can be a bit of a nightmare. What happens within this builder component is that we simplify it to only 2 clicks, one for the Gnosis Chain side and another for the Polygon side. And this is with kind of like the power of this Etherspot SDK, but we just simplify it using this builder component. I don't have any funds to show you that in this account, but you can have a play about with it yourself, or you can take a look at the page here. There's some docs as well, which I have links for at the end, which I'll show you. Now, the part we're going to look at, which we kind of are really encouraging people to build with, and what I would encourage people to build with for this hackathon, is Transaction Kit. So this is a React library for Web3 development. I am someone, to be honest, I'm someone who is not really as much of I'm like a React expert or anything, and I was able to get this set up working super easily. Like I haven't encountered an easier development kit for Web3 than this. Like, I don't know if people have gone through like the trouble of setting up like Hardhat and for like contract development, and then getting set up with their apps and things like this using like Next.js. Like, that's the way I did it before, and it was a long process. Whereas this sort of thing just makes it so much simpler. So yeah, we can access some of the the Etherspot SDK tools in this, or features like transaction batching, meta transactions, this sort of thing. So the actual app itself I'm going to show you is this here. Yeah, as I said, I was going to go through and create the whole demo myself on stream, but I think because there's a lot of kind of like irrelevant Web 2 code in this, I'm just going to focus on the Etherspot parts of it and show you how to inject, just the Etherspot kind of like magic, as we call it, into the actual app itself. So we'll have a pretty basic demo app here. What we're going to do is we're going to mint some transaction kit tokens. This is an ERC20 token we have on by Polygon. And then we have another contract where we're going to stake these. We're going to stake these tokens, and we're going to get our staked transaction kit tokens in return. So in terms of setting, and by the way, I'm using Sandbox here, Code Sandbox, to show this demo. This will be linked after, and you can use it, copy some of the code out of it, build whatever with it. Pretty much we just want to show the power of it within this part of it. So for Code Sandbox or whatever development environment you're using, the only thing you have to import is this Etherspot Transaction Kit here. Hopefully you can see it. Hopefully that's big enough for you. But yeah. And in terms of the index.js file, all we have to do is import this here, this Etherspot Transaction Kit, from our Transaction Kit library. And within the render function, we're going to wrap our app within these tags. So we're passing 2 arguments into these tags here. The first one being our provider. What is that? The provider is pretty much anything the unique ID which we want to create our wallet based off. So when I signed in with my Twitter here on this builder component, we essentially will be passing in my Twitter unique ID into this provider. For this example, we are just using the Ethers library to create a random wallet. So this is what this address is here. If I refresh the page, it just creates a new address every time I refresh the page. So this is just for demo purposes, but you can like have someone log in via MetaMask through this page, or log in through one of their social logins, something like this. And then for the chain ID, we're passing in the Mumbai chain ID. This means because we have a testnet ID passed in, we are going to generate Etherspot smart contract wallets on all of the testnet frameworks that we provide. Yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead and show you how it actually works. So because this is a new wallet that we've just created, we are going to need to get some testnet tokens on it. So I'm going to go over to our faucet here. Faucet. By the way, this is a reason you should join our Discord. We have a faucet, and if you need help with anything, you can just open a ticket here, whatever. Me or someone else who's around will very happily help you out. Okay, just as a minute while we wait for that, I'm going to take a look at the first thing, the first component that we're going to call here. So the mint transaction tokens component, what we're going to import here to actually run this transaction is four bits. The Etherspot contract transaction, Etherspot batches, Etherspot batch, and use Etherspot transactions. So I'll explain what these components mean in a second. Let's scroll down a bit here. So these tags or these components are supposed to be made to be as simple as possible. We just the whole idea with Transaction Kit is that you can just look at what's happening with the code and really understand it, even if you don't really have a good understanding of React or whatever. Just you should be able to send a transaction or do whatever with ease. So there's the 3 tags here we need to wrap it in. First of all, we have our batches tag. This is because with one click of the button, we can send multiple batches on different chains. So we can see we have a batch defined here, and this is for Mumbai 80001. But within this batches tag, we could put one for Ethereum, one for Polygon as well. And with one click of the button, if there's funds on all of those wallets, it can send them on multiple different chains with just one click, which is potentially very powerful. Okay, so I'm gonna go over to Polygon, the Mumbai scan here. Take a look. Yep, I can see we've received our 1 Matic from our faucet, which is fantastic. Yeah, so we only have 1 transaction within this batch, and you can see the params here make it very, very simple to define a transaction. All we have is this contract address. This is the address of the ERC20 token. We've passed in the ABI, which, if you know a bit about smart contract development, you should know what this is. The method name, which is the mint, because that's what we want to call, and then the params being the smart wallet address, which is the one I've just given some Mumbai to, and the amount we want to mint. So it's really this simple to define a transaction using the transaction kit. And then at the bottom, you see we close out these tags. So we've assigned this to a button so it can estimate a mint. And what does estimate mean in this context? So for each Etherspot transaction we send, we want to estimate how much it's going to cost. Usually we would pass this to the user, so because we don't want to just be sending off transactions if it's going to be without knowing how much they cost, or if the user's not okay with how much gets sent. In this instance, because it's for demo purposes, we're just doing the estimate and the send all in one. So this estimate will estimate all of these transactions within this batches, and then the send will do the same thing, except it will just it'll send the transaction on the network. So yeah, this is the best part of it, because before, and like I said, talked about the AOA wallets, you click a transaction to sign it, and you need to sign the transaction in the plugin. It can be kind of, the user interface doesn't look so good, but with Transaction Kit, we just click one button, and this is a mint transaction. This is sent on the blockchain now, which is it is like magic, in terms of Web3 development. It's such a smooth experience. So if I go over to my Polygon scan and refresh this, yeah, we can see there's some Matic has been taken away because the transaction is run. If we wait a second here, we will see all of the transactions complete, and I can kind of talk through what's happened. Okay, great. So with Etherspot, or with a lot of other smart contract wallets, we can define the address which we are going to create the contract, the smart contract account. But until the first contract is sent on that account, it's not actually created. So we can see here this contract creation is called. This means we now have our Etherspot smart contract wallet deployed at this address on Mumbai, which is great. The second transaction here is the small amount that we chip off. We just take a tiny bit off the transaction fee. This is for this is pretty much just our monetization strategy, but it's such a small amount that you will never notice. And then the third transaction here is what we're actually getting running on the contract, this transaction kit token mint, which is great. We can see it here. So that's good. That's all. That's just one transaction with the mint transaction token. There's a better example here in the stake transaction token. This is the second component we have. So we've imported the same things. Apart from this time, we've imported one more thing, which is this Etherspot approval transaction. So remember I was saying before about how it's a pretty bad user experience when you have to approve an ERC20 token, and then in a separate transaction, you then can do your swap. This isn't good because, it costs these are two transactions, and it's just not good. Here is a way we can fix it by batching transaction. So we have the Etherspot approval transaction, and then we have the Etherspot contract transaction. So this approval transaction also only approves the amount that we want to send, which is great because usually when you approve an ERC20 token on a dApp, you're approving that contract to use all of your tokens, which is can be a bit unsecure sometimes. Whereas here, only the amount that we want to send. So yeah, once again, we can. It's pretty much this component is very similar to the other one I just looked up. Except we have two transactions within this batch. And honestly, it's just as simple as just one button clicked again. It really gives this amazing Web 2 sort of experience, this Web 2 sort of user experience that just feels so clean, so easy to use. And the code itself, like, it's only a couple of lines of code within the rest of your React app anyway. It's so simple to get up and running, and just changing it for whatever contract you're trying to interact with. If I refresh this here, we should have seen, yeah, there's the contract go through. So we deposited our transaction kit token and we received our staked transaction kit token, which is great. So yeah, we're really big fans of this transaction kit. We think it's really powerful. We really are excited for people to use it. So things such as this hackathon, where you can build on Gnosis or you can build on other chains. Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot to say, it's super easy just to use like any other chain. Like Gnosis Chain is one of the ones we support. So it literally is just as simple as changing this chain ID to Gnosis Chain ID, sending the transaction on that. We've just been doing it on Mumbai because this is where we have these dummy contracts deployed. And to be honest, I think that is it from the demo. Hopefully that gives people enough to go off. We really want people to start using this. As I said, we think it's a really great tool, especially for things like hackathons or people, where people kind of want to build quickly and just build some really lovely user experience. So yeah, that's all I have for today. I'm gonna put this link in the Discord chat. I'll post it in the
Awesome.
the chat here as well, because there's like the link to this demo, there's a link to the docs if you want to take a look at the builder, whatever. And then if you want to join our Discord as well, or just ask me for help in the Encode Discord, where we'll always have people around to help you. We're really keen to kind of have people use these really good products that we have. So yeah, I'm gonna stop sharing here, Angela. Now.
Cool, awesome. Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you so much. Yeah, and we can go through some of the questions.
Sure.
Thank you so much. That was really awesome to watch. Okay, cool. So the first question we have is from Ayasu, who wants to know about the multi-chain, how the multi-chain works. I'm assuming the functions that we were talking about earlier in your presentation.
So the multi-chain works in terms of we just kind of use it's not any different than other multi-chain software. Like, we just batch up the transactions. So we, like, if we've some transactions are run on the Polygon side, and then on the Ethereum side, we just batch them all up together in the Etherspot's backend on the Polygon side, and then after that, we handle it all in the on the Ethereum side. It's not really, it's only really a UI difference, to be honest, from our perspective. It's not really anything different, from like a transaction perspective. Everything else under the hood is kind of the same. We just kind of want to make it like a nicer, easier user experience sort of thing, if that makes sense.
Cool. Yeah. So next question from Joshua. Do you think the social login degrades security significantly?
Yes and no. See, I think it depends on the person, because I think a lot of people. It's kind of hard, a tough question to answer, because a lot of people, they are not going to be they're going to be more careless, with their 12 words or things like this. The social login doesn't really kind of suit them. So having this, centralized backup, because with Web3 off or whatever, or platforms like this, they have their own social recovery functions. It is more centralized, but for people, like this, or, people who don't really care to save those 12 words, it can really help them. In terms of someone who's like, really on the ball, really wants to keep their 12 words, this sort of thing, will never get hacked. Maybe it's not as good an option for those sorts of people. So I'd say it depends on the person. That makes sense.
Awesome, great. Yes, cool. We've got some more questions from Jelly saying, is there wallet login as another option? I think those two are together.
Oh, yeah. I forgot to mention that, actually. Yes. So on that Etherspot builder component, we do have the option to log in with a key-based wallet as well. So you can use your MetaMask or your Trust wallet or whatever, and then that can be passed in, as your provider, to the Etherspot SDK, and then we will generate wallets based off of your your AOA wallet. So yes, that is possible. I just forgot to mention that when I was going through the builder.
No, that's great. Awesome. Great. Yevgenio asks, what do you think about walletless onboarding like on Flow?
Walletless onboarding, to be honest, I'm not too familiar with that, or what really goes on with walletless onboarding. Is that in terms of if the wallets are created for them, sort of thing, or how does that? Do you know more about that, Angela? To be honest, I don't really know so much about this.
Not personally either. Yevgenio, if you want to type in the chat any more, like anything else to elaborate on that, I'll quickly check what.
Or you can just whoever asked that, I can just talk to them about it after I take a little look at it. To be honest, I just don't really know off the top of my head so much about that.
That sounds like a great idea. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I guess this can be discussed later. I'm just having a quick look at Flow right now, actually. No worries. Another question has come in from Ayasu again. Is the wallet customizable, like adding transaction guards or modules from Safe?
So transaction guards, yes, that is something we're still working on, I believe. Or it's something we have at a contract level, but not at a UI level. But yes, Guardians is something that we are interested in. The modules, in terms of Safe, I would have to double check that for you. I'm not sure if that's something we currently include or plan on including. So yeah, that's something I'll have to double check that one for you and get back to you.
Cool. And Yevgenio has put in a link in the chat for Flow and their walletless onboarding, which I think seems very similar to. He says it's almost like you said, but a bit different.
Web3 wallet Christian. Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, it's a similar thing, right? When it sounds pretty similar, like in terms of like they're just, like I can see they have social logins, through like they have like Facebook or Google or email, and then it's creating a wallet on a number of chains. So we are pretty much doing the same thing. I don't know. It's probably different, when you get down to like the intricacies of it, but as an idea, it looks pretty similar.
Mm-hmm. And I'd like to add to that, I think the main, benefit that we're talking about today in terms of our own, or Etherspot's own builder.io is that it's for you guys to very easily implement this in your hackathons, right? Really easy for you guys to customize and build into whatever application or function that you are trying to do. Correct me if I'm wrong, Taylor.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. Yeah. Which is, yeah.
So yeah, great. I've got another few questions. So Vide asks, can we make a custodial hot wallet setup for the users on the website using Etherspot?
Yeah, so we can, in terms of creating some sort of hot wallet, we can do that through social logins, using a different Web3 auth client ID, I believe. So you can create an account on Web3 auth, get your own client ID. So if users log into your site using Twitter or whatever, basically it's like a separate, it's essentially a separate hot wallet for for your website, which is different than than the Twitter login, when using our builder component on our website, for instance, which I think is what you're asking. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it is.
Cool. Yeah, Vide, comment in the chat if you want to add any more to that question. Caleb says, does Gnosis Chain support ERC 4337, or is it built into protocol level?
I don't know that with Gnosis Chain currently. To be honest, I'm not like an expert on Gnosis right now, but
that is completely fair.
We are still making the move to 4337 compatibility ourselves. Like you can still, so you don't have to worry about that if you're building a Gnosis Chain right now. Which so it's not really anything to worry about if you're looking to build using Etherspot and Gnosis.
Awesome. Cool. We've got a couple of questions in the chat as well. Chains that you support, are they only EVM compatible?
Yeah, I was just going to post a link actually.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, perfect. So it's only EVM based chains right now. And that link here, there, you can see which chains we support. So hopefully that.
Awesome.
And Hake Mula, our competitor, is I think it's things like Argent and Biconomy right now are our main competitors. So
thank you for sharing that. Awesome. Okay. Any other questions, everyone? Oh, here we go.
Adapters for non-EVM chains. To be honest, that's not something in our pipeline right now, I believe, because there's still, I mean, the main focus for us right now is to get the 4337 version of what we have now up and running. Maybe we would think about non-EVM chains in the future, but I think it would be far too much work for us to even like try and consider. So right now, that's a no, I believe.
Thank you very much for answering all these questions. Anyone else have a few more questions? And if not, I think we could probably wrap it up there and give everyone a little bit of a break before the next workshop.
Cool.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Taylor, for speaking. And yeah, everyone saying thank you. Yeah, it was really great. A really, I think, simple to understand workshop, and I think it was it poses some really cool things that we would like to see our hackers implement in their projects. That would be awesome.
That's good,
especially with the nice UI and stuff. Yeah,
that's kind of the point of it with like Transaction Kit. It's like these sort of things I think are really like beneficial for kind of like the future of like the user experience in Web3, and we kind of have these tools with Transaction Kit that make this really kind of easy for devs to use and work with, which is fantastic. So
exactly. Especially when hackathons have somewhat tight deadlines or
yeah, exactly.
The building process is quite rushed. Awesome.
For sure.
Well, thank you so much. Taylor, you're in our Discord and also in Etherspot's own Discord for people to get in contact with you, right?
Yep. I'm in the Discord, and I've put a link there to the that's just got some links and stuff, some of the things I was looking at today. Any other questions, just like ping me on Discord anytime, and I'll get back to you.
Cool, sounds awesome. Thank you so much. Everyone else, we're going to take a 5-minute break, and then I'll see you then for the next workshop.